الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم أما بعد عن عبد الله ابن مسعود رضي الله عنه يقول قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من قرأ حرفا من قرأ حرفا من كتاب الله فله به حسنة والحسنة بعشر أمثالها لا أقول ألف لام ميم حرف ولكن ألف حرف ولام حرف وميم حرف صححه الشيخ الباني في صحيح سنن الترمذي. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Narrated by Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Man qara'a harfan, whoever recites a harf. Man qara'a harfan. So harf, harfun, harfan, harfin. What is a harf? Harf is a letter, right? Letter. There is a difference between word and letter. Harf is a letter. Min kitabillah, from the book of Allah. Falahu bihi hasana. So whoever recites gets a hasana, a good deed. Wal hasanatu bi ashri amthaliha. And then wal hasanatu bi ashri amthaliha, which is multiplied to 10 good deeds. 10 good deeds. So whoever recites a letter from the book of Allah will get a hasana, and that hasana is multiplied into 10 good deeds. Then the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, La aqulu alif lam mim harfun. I do not say La aqulu that alif lam mim, yarhamukallah. Alif lam mim is a single letter, because alif, lam and mim, there are three letters, right? So I do not say that alif lam mim is a single letter, harfun. Walakin, rather, alifun harfun, alif is a letter, wa lamun harfun, lam is a letter, wa meemun harfun, and meem is a letter. And this hadith is authenticated by Shaykh al-Albani in Sahih Sunan at-Tirmidhi. Sahhahu, which means he categorized this as a Sahih hadith. The shahid here, barakallahu fikum, is that whoever recites a letter gets the reward of 10 hasana. So what is the takeaway or conclusion of this hadith is, whenever we get some free time, or let's say you are waiting for your turn in a hospital or maybe at a restaurant and you have some time, so instead of doing something else, we can busy ourselves with reciting the book of Allah, pondering upon it. And just by reciting without even understanding the meaning, even though that is the reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the Quran, to understand, to reflect, to ponder upon it, but just by reciting you get so many good deeds. So a reminder for all of us to take this hadith into consideration and try to implement it. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us among those who utilize our time to the best of our ability. The grammatical aspect is, until now we were talking about mubtada, khabar in the previous class. I know it has been a long time, but we are discussing about jumla ismiya, if you remember, jumla ismiya. And jumla ismiya has two parts to it, right? One is mubtada and the other is khabar, right? Mubtada and khabar. So what is mubtada, what is khabar? Mubtada is the word which does the ibtada, or which starts the jumla ismiya, if you remember. And khabar is something that talks about the mubtada, right? So in this case, alifun harfun, Alif is a letter. So this part is Jumla Ismiya. Alif is a letter. Walamun harfun. So this is another Jumla Ismiya. Lamun harfun. Lam is a letter. Wamimun harfun. Mim is a letter. The rest of the hadith, there are a lot of verbs, fi'l. So we are not going to get into that as of now. But we know that Jumla Ismi has two parts, Mubtada and Khabar. And Mubtada is something which starts the Jumla, and Khabar is something that gives, talks something about the Mubtada. This is what we know until now. Before we get into today's topic, let us review a little bit about Jumla. So we started off by looking at the different huruf or the different letters. Then we said that combination of huruf can be either mufrad or murakkab. Mufrad means like a single word, and murakkab means like a bunch of words that come together, right? So it can either be mufrad or murakkab. Now in murakkab, as we said, that murakkab can either be tamma or naqisa. If you remember from the previous class, murakkab tamma is a murakkab that conveys the entire meaning, complete meaning of the murakkab, right? And murakkab naqisa is does not convey the complete meaning. In English, we call them as phrases. So murakkab naqisa can be called or can be referred to as a phrase, and murakkab tamma as a sentence, right? So in murakkab tamma, we have jumla ismiya and jumla fi'liya, and we started off with jumla ismiya, right? And in jumla ismiya, as we said that there are two parts, one is mubtada, one is khabar, and there are three rules of jumla ismiya. There are three rules of jumla ismiya. Do you remember what are those three rules, or can? No problem. The first rule is
Can you repeat the Murakkab has two categories.
murakkab tamma and murakkab nakhisa. Nakhisa means incomplete, does not convey the entire meaning, like a phrase. For example, Zaid's book, okay, or Fawad's pen. So this is a murakkab. It is talking about something. There are two words. It's a phrase, but the complete meaning is not being conveyed, right? If I say Zaid's book is new, right? Then what does it mean? Is this a complete sentence or is it incomplete? Zaid's book is new. So it is a complete, it gives the complete meaning. So it is a murakkab tamma, right?
But how is it different from Mufrad?
Mufrad means a singular word. Zaid,
Oh,
Zaid or kitab, qalam. This is mufrad, singular, right? So murakkab can be either tamma or naqisa, and in tamma we had jumla ismiya and jumla fi'liya. So jumla fi'liya we'll study later, but jumla ismiya we started off with jumla ismiya, and there are three rules. Can you tell what are those three rules?
the first rule is Mubtada and Khabar are marfu.
Mm-hmm.
Second one is usually Mubtada is Mu'arifa and Khabar is Nakira.
Mm-hmm.
Third rule is Khabar follows Mubtada in this and other.
Other. Barakallahu feekum. You remember those four things that we talked about when we started off, that you have to know four things about an ism, right? So all these four things are covered in these three rules, right? So Zaidun Salihun, right? Zaidun Salihun. Zaidun Salihun is Zaid is pious. So Zaidun is marfu, Salihun is marfu. Zaid is Marifa and Salihun is Nakira, right? And then there is a correlation in terms of jins and adad, which means if this is masculine, the khabar will also be masculine. If that is feminine, the khabar will also be feminine. And also the adad, right, or quantity. One, if it is singular, then it will be singular. If it is dual, so these are the three rules. In today's class, the goal of today's class is to, there are different types of asma, right? So we started with Ismul Alam, if you remember. Ismul Alam, which means a proper noun, right? So now we are going to look into ad-dhama'ir or dhamir. Dhamir is singular, dhama'ir is plural. And in English, we call them as pronouns. We call them as pronouns. So the goal of today's class is to use a dhamir in place of mubtada, right? The first class we used ismul alam in place of mubtada. So instead of ismul alam, we will use dhamir, right? So dhamir or pronoun. In English, what is the purpose of a pronoun? Why do we use a pronoun?
Right. So now, to use
To avoid repetition.
to avoid repetition and indirect refer to some name or
Right. Dhamir always points to something, right? So whenever you in English we use he, she, it, they, those, these are all dhamir or pronoun. It always goes back to something. It always points to something. And the good news is that dhamir are it's a very easy topic in the Arabic language. There are two tables of dhamir, and if you memorize two tables, you will understand all the dhamir in the Quran. Subhanallah, it is that easy. So out of those two tables, we'll study the first table today. Okay, we'll see what that table is. But the concept here is that a dhamir is something that is used in place of a noun, right? Pronoun is something that is used in the place of a noun, and it always reverts back to the noun. So dhamir always points to something, right? It's the original noun that it's referring to. Musa Rasulun. Musa Rasulun. This is a Jumla Ismiya, right? This is a Jumla Ismiya. Musa, right? If I ask you what is the i'rab or the status of Musa, will you able to say it? Musa is among those words which have the same i'rab in raf, nasb and jar, right? So if you remember, we had this question that how will we know what the actual i'rab is? So this is how we will know. This is a Jumla Ismiya. In Jumla Ismiya, we have Mubtada, we have Khabar, and Mubtada is Marfu', right? Mubtada and Khabar both are Marfu'. So Musa, even though it is apparently does not show any i'rab, apparently, but it has an i'rab of rafa, or it is called marfu, right? The whatever has an i'rab of rafa is called marfu, nasb mansub, and jar majrur, like that. So Musa Rasulun, Musa is a messenger, right? Musa Rasul. This is better, right? Jazakallah khair. Jibrilu wa Mikalu Malakani, right? Jibril and Mikal or Mikail, both names are there, are uh, Malakani, which means angels, right? Malakani. Malakun is a angel, Malakun, Malakani, right? So over here, uh, Jibril and Mikal, these two are Mubtada, right? And this is the Khabar. So when it comes to those three rules, we know that this is marfu, right? Malakani, malakaini is the mansoob and majroor, right? And in terms of adads, two, right? And in terms of jins, it's masculine, right? I mean, jins in terms of grammar, they don't have a gender, as we know. So that's how all the three rules are there. In grammatical context, there is something called as tarkib. Tarkib is basically in the books of grammar. Um, they use this to understand, to analyze the sentence. So it is better if we know that. So the way how they say is in this case, Musa is Mubtada, Rasulun is Khabar. Mubtada and Khabar together form Jumla Ismiya. In this case, since there is a wow, now this is like a new concept. Wow is called harf atf. Harf atf. Wow is called harf atf. Okay. The ism before wow is called ma'tufun alayh. Wow is harf atf, and the ism after wow is called ma'tuf. What does this mean now? Seems a bit complicated, but nothing to worry about. Basically, in English, we use and, right? And why is and used? In order to mix, combine, right? So what does that mean? Yeah, it's called a conjunction. What does that? That means that whatever comes after this is referring to both of them, right? So in Arabic, waw is called harf atf, and the ism before atf is called ma'tufun alay, which means like the original ism, and the ism after waw is called ma'tuf. Ma'tuf is basically referring to the ma'tufun alay, right? So in English, for example, we say Zaid and Hamad came, right? So originally we are talking about Zaid, but we used Hamad, we use and to basically include Hamad in that too. Sometimes you may say Zaid came to my house and Hamad too, right? In English, Zaid came to my house and Hamad too, right? So now we are using Hamad later, right? But because of and to, you are including Hamad in the story which we are talking about Zaid, right? So these are conjunction. So harf atf does the same thing. Sometimes in the Quran you will find that there will be an ayah and it will talk about a subject, which means like ma'tufun alayh, and ma'tuf will be there somewhere at the end, like Zaid came to my house and Hammad too. So then when you have that ma'tuf, you will have the ayah and then at the end wa, and there will be something. Then if you know this, you know that this wa now takes this ma'tuf to all the way to ma'tufun alayh, which means it's included in that meaning. The same way how Damair works, right? The same way how Damair works, right? It's talking about tarkib. So in this case, in the first case, Musa Rasulun, Musa Mubtada, Rasulun Khabar, Mubtada and Khabar, Khabar combined with its Mubtada form Jumla Isme. In this case, Jibril Ma'tufun Alay, Waw Harf Atf, Mikal Ma'tuf, Ma'tufun Alay, harf atf and ma'tuf combined together as mubtada, and malakani khabar, mubtada and khabar combined together as jumla ismiya. This is what the tarkib is. This is how they say it.
So Matu, Alay, and Matu are Mubtada. And
Yes, yes.
Tarkib is like a syntax to understand, like this.
Analysis, yeah, yeah.
Uh,
So similar, if I give you a sentence, Zaidun wa Hammadun Salihani. Zaidun wa Hammadun Salihani. Can you give me the tarkib or the analysis? Zaidun wa Hammadun Salihani.
Zaidun is Matu, Alay, Wa is Harf Atf, Hamadun is Matu, Salihani is the Khabar.
Ma'tuf, harf atf and ma'tufun alayh, harf atf and ma'tuf combined as mubtada, and then khabar and mubtada combined together to form jumla ismiya. Okay. Fatimatu wa Zainabu Salihatani. Can you say the tarkib?
The tarkib is Mubtada is Fatima, Zainab. These two are
Mubtada.
combined as Mubtada. So in that, Fatima is Matu Alay, Wa is حرف العطف and Zainab is معطوف correcting the معطوف عليه and صالح صالحتان
صالحتان is
خبر
خبر.
then they form together
جملة
this is the tarkib.
yeah. Jazakallah khair. Barakallah fiqh. Zamir is a pronoun, right? Zamir is used in the place of a noun. So Zamir is an ism. And when we talk about asma or ism, we have to know four things about them, right? Which means we have to know four things about the Zamir, right? What are those four things? Jins, adad, wus'at, and i'rab, right? Jins, adad, wus'at, and i'rab. When it comes to wus'at, Dhamair are ma'rifa. Dhamair are ma'rifa. Okay. So one aspect is covered, right? So now there are three more aspects: jins, adad, and i'rab. And this table, as we said that there are two tables, right? If you know those two tables, you will be able to understand all the dhamair in the Quran. So this is the table for the dhamair in refer. This is the table for dhamair in refer. So out of those four things, we know that dhamair are ma'rifa. So we are now left with three things. Out of those three things, this is the table for refer when it comes to the i'rab or status. So we are left with only two things, and those two things are mentioned over here. For this side you have the jins, and this side you have the adad. Before we get into the table, let's understand what second, third person, second person, or first person is, right? When we communicate, when we are doing a conversation, right? So there are three types of people, right? The first is, let's say you are talking about someone else in the conversation. So in a conversation there are two people, right? So two people are discussing about someone else. So that someone else, we will refer that person as a third person, and in English we use he, she, they, those, like that, right? So third person is nothing but when two people are in a conversation, the person who is referring to, even if the person is in front of them, doesn't matter, but this person is someone who is not directed in the conversation, right? Like who is not referred to as directly. This person is referred to as a third person, like he, she, they, those, as we said. So that is third person. What is second person? Second person is the person whom the speaker is speaking to. For example, I am talking to you. So you are the second person, and the speaker or me, I am the first person, right? So we have names for them. Third person is called ghaib, ghaib, or which usually means absent, but it doesn't necessarily mean that he is not present in the same room. Means he is absent from the conversation, right? Ghaib. Second person is mukhatab, mukhatab, and first person is mutakallim. Second person is mukhatab or hadir, mukhatab or hadir. I can write them down. For third person, ghaib. Second person is hadir. Hadir means someone in present or mukhatab. And first person is mutakallim. Mutakallim means the speaker, right? So in English, we have he, she, they, those as third person, you as second person, I or we as third person, right? So let us first translate this into English, and then we will kind of try to memorize this. Hua, he. Hua is third person and muzakkar is hua, right? Huma is third person and two people, huma. Hum is third person and three or more than three, jama, right? Hua, huma, hum. He, those two, they, right? Hiya is she. She, third person referring to a female. Huma is those two females, right? And hunna is three or more than three females. So he, those two males, and those males, whom, she, those two females, and those females, who, hunna. So now you can understand the richness of the Arabic language, that when you translate it to English, it is like three different words, right? Those two males. But in Arabic, you use just one word, like huma, to refer to them. This is the richness of the Arabic language. So huwa, huma, hum, hiya, huma, hunna. He, those two males, those males, she, those two females, and those females, three or more than three. Anta. Anta means you, but for referring to a male. If there's a female, then it's anti. Anta, anti. In English, you, right? Antuma. Antuma is for you two males, this case. Then antum, you all, or three or more than three, you all, antum. Anti, you, but for a female. Antuma is you, but you two. For males and females, it's the same, right? Antuma. Antunna, you all females, right? Ana, I. Ana, I. For male, female, it's the same. Ana. Nahnu, we. Nahnu, we, ana, I. We don't have a musanna for first person, right? It's just I or we, right? One or more than one, right? For first person. So now let us, you know the meaning, right? You know the meaning, you know how it is used. Let us try to practice the damair. So how do we practice them? There's a technique, right? So we'll try to follow the technique. What's the yeah, go ahead.
Do we have Jama'ah for the first person mutakallim as?
As is nahnu is used. We as.
There might be three of us, right? They still refer to as we.
Yeah, but nahnu is used for more than one person, whether two, three. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or nahnu is also used as a like for example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses nahnu khalaqnahum wa shaddadna asrahum. So this we or this nahnu is a royal usage. Like for example, if the queen says we, in Urdu we use hum kare the. So that is in that context. That's a different. So let us practice the damair. Let us practice the damair. My right hand, I'll be using my right hand for muzakkar and left hand for muannath. Okay? And this would be for the palm would be used to indicate third, like jama. This would be for wahid. This would be for musanna, and for jama I would use the palm. Okay, so right hand for muzakkar and left hand for muannath. So let's start. Hua, huma, hum, 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 hiya, huma, hunna, hiya, huma, hunna, hiya, huma, hunna, anta, antuma, antum, anta, antuma, antum. Anti, antuma, antunna. Ana, nahnu. Ana, nahnu. Right? So let us all say it together. Huwa, huma, hum. Hiya, huma, hunna. Anta, antuma, antum. Anti, antuma, antunna. Ana, nahnu. Ana, nahnu. Okay, once more. Huwa, huma, hum. Hiya, huma, hunna. Anta, antuma, antum. Anti, antuma, antunna. Ana, nahnu. Okay, so with this now you can understand the entire table or the entire chart. Huwa, huma, hum. Hiya, huma, hunna. Anta, antuma, antum. Anti, antuma, antunna. Ana, nahnu. Simple?
Yes.
Simple. How many are there? There are 14 forms. There are 14 forms. So let us try to implement this understanding into jumla ismiya. We haven't done that yet, so we'll do that now. Zaidun salihun. What will this become? Instead of Zaid, huwa salihun. Right? Zainabu salihatun. What will this become? Hiya. Zaidun wa fuadun salihani. What will this become? Huma salihani. Huma salihani. Right? Zaidun wa fuadun wa hammadun salihuna. Hum salihuna. Right? What if I ask you before that? Fatimatu wa Zainabu salihatani. Huma salihatani. Right? Fatimatu wa Zainabu wa Maryamu salihatun. Hunna salihatun. Right? Zaidun wa Maryamu wa Fatimatu salihuna.
When there is a sentence, it becomes
Hum salihuna. Hum salihuna. Right? Zainabu wa Maryamu wa Khadijatu wa Zaidun salihuna. Hum salihun. Instead of huma, for second person it will be antuma, right? Antuma salihani. Salihani. Antuma, two people, right? Antum salihuna. Antum salihuna. Now, if I were to give you a word, an ism, right? And that would be salihun. Salihun. Can you use this ism with all the dhamair in the table? With all the dhamair in the table. Huma salihun. Hiya salihatun. Huma salihani. Hum salihuna. Hiya salihatun. Huma salihatani. Hunna salihatun. Right? Then anta salihun. Antuma salihani. Antum salihuna. Anti salihatun. Antuma salihatani. Antunna salihatun. Right? Ana salihun. Nahnu salihuna. Right? Sadiqun. Sadiqun. I am giving you another ism. Sadiqun. Can you use Sadiqun with all the dhamair? Starting with हुआ.
हुआ सादिकुन.
आप कर रहे हैं, आपको एक एक देना. ओके, गो अहेड. जज़ाकल्लाह खैर.
हुआ सादिकुन. हुमा सादिक़तानि.
स्वादिकानी. स्वादिकतानी for female.
सादिक़ानि. हुम सादिक़ातुन.
खूना. ऊना. स्वादिकूना.
सादिक़ून. हिया
स्वादिकतुन.
सादिक़तुन.
If we with the ta marbuta, we say swadiqa, right? Swadiqa. So swadiqa is nothing but swadiqatun. So hiya swadiqatun.
हिया. तो हुआ सादिक़त.
Huwa swadiqun. Hiya swadiqatun, not swadiqa.
हुआ सादिक़ुन. हिया सादिक़तुन. हुमा सादिक़तानि. हुन्ना सादिक़ातुन.
Swadiqatun. Right? Anta
अंता सादिक़ा.
swadiqun for male, muzakkar.
अंतुमा सादिक़ान. अंतुम सादिक़ात.
Swadiquna.
सादिक़ून.
Inshallah, if you go back to those classes, you will be able to do it. It's very easy. Can you complete the table? Anti swadiqatun.
सादिक़तुन. अंतुमा अंतुमा सादिक़ातानि. अंतुन्ना
Qatun. Ana.
أنا صادق. نحن صادقون.
Barakallahu fi. Can you do for Muslimun?
هو مسلم. هما مسلمان. هم
Muslimuna.
مسلمون. هي مسلمتان.
Muslimatun.
مسلمة. هما مسلمتان. هن مسلمات. أنت مسلم. أنتما مسلمان. أنتم
Antum Muslimuna. Ani, Aini. Ani, Una. Right? Tani, Atun. Right? Remember those sounds we studied? Musanna and Jama.
I think now I'm getting the hang of it. I'm
Alhamdulillah.
very confused in Jama. So for male is
Una.
Una.
Una. Remember the sound. Una. And for females, Atun. Okay?
So, anti
Muslimatun.
Muslimatun.
Just add a ta marbuta.
Antuma muslimatani. Antunna
Muslimatun.
Ana muslimun. Nahnu muslimatani.
Muna. Okay, so if you ponder over Suratul Kafirun now, after learning the Dhamair, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل يا أيها الكافرون لا أعبد ما تعبدون ولا أنتم عابدون ما أعبد ولا أنا عابد ما عبدتم ولا أنتم عابدون ما أعبد لكم دينكم ولي دين. Right? So these dhamair of the second person are being used. Right? And there are so many examples we can just in Suratul Baqarah وَإِذْ قُلْنَا لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ اسْجُدُوا لِآدَمَ فَسَجَدُوا إِلَّا إِبْلِيسَ أَبَى وَاسْتَكْبَرَ وَكَانَ مِنَ الْكَافِرِينَ فقلنا يا آدم أسكن أنت يا آدم أسكن أنت وزوجك الجنة ولا تقرب هذه الشجرة فتكون من الظالمين. So anta wa zawjuka means you and your wife. Okay. Uh,
And he said, "Oh Adam, don't you and your wife in paradise."
anta wa zawjuka al-jannata. Then shaitan فأزلهما الشيطان فأزلهما الشيطان أخرجهما. What did shaitan did? Shaitan made them slip and أخرجهما. Huma means who to? Huma. Akhrajahuma. We learned Huma, right? Akhrajahuma means shaitan let them slip and made them exit Jannah. Akhrajahuma made two. Adam and Hawa, right?
Yeah, no, I'm saying because it's the same for both of the first person.
Yeah. No, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about Adam and Hawa. So Adam and Hawa have been mentioned as third person. Akhrajahuma. Mimma kana fi. So this is, I mean, there are so many examples. You can just go and just check and try to ponder. So let us end this here with homework. But you get the point, right? So what we are trying to do is I prepared this like I think around 2 weeks back. So that's the reason why I don't remember. So use each of the following asma. Asma is the plural of ism. To create tables like the given example, you have four asma. Sadiqun, salihun, qa'imun, jalisun. Sadiqun is truthful. Salihun is pious. Qa'imun is someone who is standing, right? Jalisun is sitting. ठीक है? So वाहिद मुसन्ना जमा हुआ हुमा हुम हिया हुमा हुन्ना अंता अंतुमा अंतुम अंती अंतुमा अंतुन्ना ana nahnu, right? So you have to use these four words in all the dhamir to complete the table like the given example, right? So this is your homework. Are there any questions or are we good to close? سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. جزاكم الله خيرا وبارك الله فيكم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.